Maya Rodriguez was elbow-deep in engine grease when the message arrived. The worn-out mining vessel she was repairing wheezed and sputtered, fighting her every step of the way. This was her life on Outpost 7, Earth's furthest mining colony, fixing broken ships with duct tape and determination. The hangar's artificial lighting flickered overhead, casting dancing shadows across the cluttered workspace. The message pod materialized beside her with a soft chime. Maya almost dropped her wrench. Nobody used quantum messaging on Outpost 7. It was too expensive, too advanced for this backwater station. Yet here was an official-looking pod, bearing the seal of the Nexus Coalition, the most advanced alien civilization humanity had ever encountered. Maya Rodriguez, the message began, the holographic text shimmering in the dim light. Your expertise is required immediately. The Stellaris project faces an unprecedented crisis. Your unique perspective may be our only hope. Maya read the message 3 times, convinced it was a joke. The Stellaris was humanity's crowning achievement, a joint project with the Nexus Coalition, combining the best of both species' technology. It was the most advanced ship ever built, and it was failing. This has to be a mistake, Maya muttered, wiping grease from her hands. But the quantum signature was genuine. Within hours, a sleek Nexus Coalition transport ship descended through Outpost 7's atmosphere, its crystalline hull catching the light of the system's twin suns. Ambassador Telzar, a tall, ethereal being with iridescent skin, stepped out, their multifaceted eyes fixed on Maya. Time is critical, Engineer Rodriguez. The Stellaris' systems are degrading at an exponential rate. Will you help us? Maya looked at her shabby workshop, then at the gleaming transport. I'm just a repair mechanic. What can I do that your engineers can't? Telzar's expression shifted in a way Maya couldn't quite read. Perhaps that is exactly why we need you. Sometimes the simplest perspective reveals what complexity obscures. The journey to the Nexus Coalition's main engineering facility took 3 days, even at faster-than-light speeds. Maya spent the time studying the Stellaris' specifications, though much of it went over her head. The ship was more than just advanced. It was like something from a dream, where the laws of physics were more like polite suggestions. When they arrived at the facility, Maya's breath caught in her throat. The station was a massive structure of crystalline spires and flowing energy fields, suspended in the heart of a nebula. The Stellaris floated in a massive dock, its sleek form merely invisible against the backdrop of stars. Beautiful, isn't it? A new voice spoke. Maya turned to see Chief Engineer Vixara, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with worry. And now it's killing itself. Maya approached the ship slowly, her trained eye already noting subtle irregularities in its energy field. Tell me everything, she said, pulling out her battered diagnostic tablet. Start from the beginning. As Vixara explained the situation, Maya's mind was already racing. The ship's problems defied the Coalition's most advanced diagnostic tools. But maybe that was exactly the problem. Maybe they were looking too hard at the complex systems and missing something fundamental. I need to see the engine core, Maya declared, interrupting Vixara's technical explanation. Not through your sensors. I need to see it with my own eyes. The alien engineers exchanged worried looks. The core contains technologies beyond human comprehension, one protested. The safety protocols are probably part of the problem, Maya finished. She pulled her lucky wrench from her toolkit. Sometimes you need to stop thinking like an advanced civilization and start thinking like a mechanic. Little did Maya know, as she stepped toward the Stellaris' core, that she was about to uncover something far more significant than a mere mechanical failure. The ship held secrets that would challenge both human and alien understanding of the universe itself. The Stellaris' engine core was unlike anything Maya had ever seen. Streams of pure energy flowed through crystalline conduits, forming patterns that seemed to defy Euclidean geometry. The room itself pulsed with a soft azure light that made her skin tingle. Please do not touch anything, Vixara warned, their bioluminescent patterns flickering with anxiety. The quantum matrices are incredibly sensitive too. Maya was already running her hand along one of the conduits, eyes closed in concentration. "Feel that?" she asked. "There's a vibration. Subtle, but it shouldn't be there." The alien engineers hurried to their instruments, but Maya waved them off. "No, don't scan it. Listen to it. Feel it. This ship isn't just malfunctioning, it's trying to tell us something." Chief Engineer Vixara's patterns shifted to a deep purple of confusion. "The ship is not sentient, Engineer Rodriguez. It is advanced, yes, but it is still merely a machine." Maya wasn't so sure. 20 years of fixing broken ships had taught her that every machine had its own voice, its own way of communicating what was wrong. The Stellaris's voice was different, more complex, but it was there. "Show me the original design specs," she requested, pulling out her tablet. "Not the simplified version you sent earlier. I want to see everything." A holographic display materialized, showing layers upon layers of impossibly complex schematics. Maya's head spun trying to follow the intricate web of systems and subsystems. But there, in the corner of her eye, something caught her attention. "Wait," she said, zooming in on a section of the power distribution network. "These conduits, they're based on the golden ratio, aren't they?" Vixara's patterns pulsed with surprise. "Yes, we discovered that the quantum flow stabilizes most efficiently when following natural mathematical constants." "How did you?" "Because that's exactly what's wrong," Maya interrupted, excitement building in her voice. "You've made it too perfect. Look at natural systems. Nothing is ever exactly the golden ratio. There's always variation, always a little chaos. You force these energy flows into perfect mathematical patterns, but nature doesn't work that way." The alien engineers stared at her in silence. Maya could almost see their advanced minds struggling with such a primitive concept. Perfect mathematics had been their foundation for millennia. The idea that imperfection might be necessary was almost heretical. But before they could respond, a deep tremor ran through the ship. The azure light flickered, turning momentarily to a deep, unsettling crimson. Maya's tablet sparked and died in her hands. "That's new," Vixara admitted, their patterns now pulsing with alarm. "The quantum field has never destabilized like this before." Maya's instincts screamed that something was very wrong. The vibration she'd felt earlier was stronger now, and there was something else, a kind of resonance that made her teeth ache. She moved deeper into the engine core, following the sensation. Engineer Rodriguez, one of the alien technicians, called after her. "That section is strictly forbidden. The experimental systems are about to fail catastrophically," Maya finished. She could feel it in her bones. Whatever was wrong with the Stellaris, it went far beyond simple mechanical failure. The ship wasn't just malfunctioning, it was fighting against itself. As she reached the innermost chamber of the core, Maya saw something that made her blood run cold. Behind the perfect crystalline lattices and quantum matrices, almost hidden from view, was something ancient, something that pulsed with its own pale, greenish light. "What is that?" she whispered, but she already knew she wouldn't like the answer. Vixara's patterns had faded to an almost ghostly white. "That," they said quietly, "is what we found in the ruins on Proxima b, the technology that made the Stellaris possible. We thought we understood it. We thought we could control it." Another tremor shook the ship, stronger this time. Warning lights began to flash throughout the core. The perfect mathematical harmony of the Stellaris was breaking down, and whatever lay at its heart was awakening. Maya realized with growing dread that she hadn't been called here to fix a mechanical problem. She'd stumbled onto something far more dangerous, the point where advanced alien technology met ancient forces that neither humans nor the Nexus Coalition truly understood. And now she had to find a way to prevent it all from tearing itself apart. The ancient device pulsed with an unsettling rhythm, completely out of sync with the Stellaris's quantum matrices. Maya watched as the alien engineers frantically worked their controls, trying to stabilize the ship's systems with increasingly complex calculations. "Your algorithms aren't going to fix this," Maya said, pulling her toolkit closer. "We need to stop thinking about perfect mathematical solutions and start thinking about compatibility." Vixara's patterns swirled with frustration. "Engineer Rodriguez, you don't understand. This technology represents millions of years of advancement. The civilization that built it had mastered forces we're only beginning to comprehend." "Yeah." Maya pulled out her old resonance scanner, a crude tool by coalition standards. "Then why did they disappear?" The question hung in the air like a physical presence. None of the aliens wanted to address the obvious implication that perhaps the ancient civilization's own technology had led to their downfall. Maya's scanner crackled to life, its simple display showing wave patterns that made her frown. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the readout. "Your quantum matrices are trying to force the ancient tech to operate at perfect efficiency, but it's fighting back. It's like," she searched for an analogy they might understand, "like trying to force a river to flow in a perfectly straight line." "That's precisely what we need it to do," one of the junior engineers protested. "The calculations." "Forget the calculations." Maya snapped. The ship shuddered again, and warning lights began flashing across multiple systems. Nature doesn't work in perfect straight lines. It works in curves, in cycles, in patterns that bend and adapt. You're trying to make this ancient technology conform to your idea of perfection, but what if it was designed to work with natural chaos? The alien engineers stared at her as if she'd suggested they power the ship with magic, but Vixara's patterns showed a glimmer of understanding. "The ruins on Proxima B," they said slowly. "They weren't built in straight lines either. We assumed it was degradation over time, but what if that was intentional?" Maya finished. She was already moving toward the main control interface. "We need to stop trying to perfect this system and start trying to work with it." Another violent tremor rocked the ship. The quantum matrices were beginning to break down, their perfect patterns dissolving into chaos. But Maya noticed something strange. The ancient device seemed to pulse stronger, more steadily, as the artificial perfection around it crumbled. "Look," she pointed to the energy readings. "It's not fighting against chaos, it's trying to create it. Your quantum matrices are like a straitjacket, forcing it to behave in ways it wasn't meant to." "Impossible," one of the senior engineers declared. "Chaos is the enemy of efficiency. Our entire civilization is built on the principle of perfect order." "Maybe that's your problem," Maya muttered. She was already reconfiguring her scanner, trying to match its frequency to the ancient device's pulses. Sometimes you need a little disorder to make things work. The ship's warning sirens reached a fever pitch. Main systems were failing across the board as the conflict between perfect mathematics and ancient chaos reached a breaking point. Maya knew she had minutes, maybe seconds, to prove her theory. "I need full access to the control systems," she demanded, "and I need you to stop trying to restore order." Vixara hesitated for a long moment, their patterns shifting through colors Maya had never seen before. Finally, they made a gesture, and the other engineers stepped back from their stations. "The ship is yours, Engineer Rodriguez," they said quietly. "I hope your human instincts are right." Maya took a deep breath and placed her hands on the control interface. The ancient device pulsed before her, its greenish light seeming to reach out toward her. She didn't understand the physics, the quantum mechanics, or the mathematical principles that made any of this work. But she understood machines. She understood the way things wanted to flow, the natural rhythms that existed in every piece of technology she'd ever fixed. And right now, she needed to trust that understanding more than ever. "Okay," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. "Let's see what happens when we stop trying to be perfect." With trembling fingers, she began to disable the quantum matrices one by one, letting chaos flow back into the system. The ship groaned around them, its structure struggling to adapt to the sudden change. The ancient device's pulsing grew stronger, more insistent. And that's when Maya saw it, the pattern hidden within the chaos, the order that existed not in spite of disorder, but because of it. Her eyes widened as she realized what she was seeing. "Oh my God," she breathed. "You didn't build a ship around this technology, you built a cage." The control room erupted into chaos as Maya's words sank in. The ancient device's pulsing had grown stronger, its greenish light now casting eerie shadows across the crystalline walls of the engine core. A cage. Vixara's patterns had frozen in a state of shock. "What do you mean?" Maya's hands flew across the control interface, her mind racing. "Look at these energy patterns. They're not random. They're responsive. This isn't just technology, it's alive. Or at least semi-conscious. And your quantum matrices weren't stabilizing it. They were suppressing it." The ship shuddered again, but this time it felt different. Less violent, more deliberate. Like a sleeping giant beginning to stir. "Impossible," one of the senior engineers protested. "We've studied this technology for decades. There were no signs of consciousness." "Because you were looking for the wrong signs," Maya explained, her scanner revealing patterns that grew more complex by the second. "You were searching for consciousness that matched your understanding, ordered, mathematical, precise. But this consciousness exists in chaos, in the spaces between your perfect calculations." The ancient device pulsed again, stronger this time. The quantum matrices that still remained active began to flicker and fail, not from malfunction, but from what Maya could only describe as rejection. It's been trying to communicate, she realized, watching the energy patterns shift and flow. All this time, it's been trying to break free of the artificial constraints you placed on it, trying to return to its natural state. Vixara moved closer to the device, their patterns showing a mix of fear and fascination. "If what you're saying is true, then we've made a terrible mistake. But why now? Why is it only breaking free now?" Maya's hands stilled on the controls as understanding dawned. Because it needed something your perfect systems couldn't provide. It needed intuition, human intuition. The ability to see patterns in chaos, to understand without having to calculate every variable. The ship's remaining systems were transforming before their eyes. As the rigid quantum matrices fell away, new patterns emerged. Organic, flowing, alive with possibility. The ancient device's pulsing had become a steady rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. "This is what the ancients understood," Maya whispered, watching in awe as the transformation spread throughout the ship. They didn't try to control the chaos of the universe. They learned to work with it, to harness it. Their technology wasn't about imposing order. It was about finding the harmony that exists within disorder. But as the ancient consciousness continued to awaken, Maya realized they faced a new problem. The ship's structure, designed around principles of perfect order, was struggling to contain the newly unleashed energy. Hairline fractures began appearing in the crystalline walls. "We need to stabilize it," she announced, "but not by forcing it back into rigid patterns. We need to give it room to breathe, to find its own balance." Vixara's patterns shifted to a deep blue of concern. "How?" "Our entire understanding of engineering is based on mathematical precision. We don't know how to work with chaos." Maya smiled grimly. "Then it's a good thing you called a human mechanic." She reached into her toolkit and pulled out her oldest, most reliable tool, a manual harmonic resonator. The device was primitive by coalition standards, but it could detect and match any energy frequency by feel rather than calculation. "Sometimes," she said, calibrating the resonator by ear, "you need to stop thinking like an engineer and start thinking like an artist." The ancients didn't just build technology, they composed it. As she worked, the ancient device's pulsing began to synchronize with her adjustments. The fractures in the walls stopped spreading. The ship's systems, rather than fighting against the chaos, began to flow with it, finding new patterns of stability that defied conventional physics. But just as Maya thought it might have achieved balance, a new energy signature appeared on her scanner. Something else was awakening within the ship, something that had been dormant for millions of years, waiting for precisely this moment. The ancient device's green light suddenly shifted to a brilliant gold, and a presence filled the engine core, vast, ancient, and very much aware. Oh hell, Maya breathed, realizing that freeing the consciousness had been only the beginning. We didn't just unlock their technology, we woke them up. The ancient consciousness filled the engine core like a storm of golden light, patterns of energy swirling and shifting in ways that made Maya's eyes water. Warning sirens blared throughout the ship as systems struggled to cope with the massive surge of power. Everyone stay calm, Maya ordered, though her own heart was racing. The harmonic resonator in her hands hummed with frequencies she'd never felt before. It's trying to communicate. Vixara and the other engineers had backed against the walls, their patterns cycling through colors of fear and awe. This is beyond anything we imagined, Vixara whispered. The implications. Forget the implications, Maya snapped. Help me stabilize these systems before the ship tears itself apart. The ancient consciousness was expanding, reaching into every part of the Stellaris. Maya could feel it testing boundaries, exploring its new home with what felt like curiosity. But the ship's infrastructure wasn't designed to handle this kind of energy. Structural integrity was failing across all decks. It's not trying to destroy the ship, Maya realized, watching the patterns of energy flow. It's trying to transform it, like a butterfly breaking out of a cocoon. She adjusted her resonator, trying to match the new frequencies. The consciousness responded immediately, its golden light pulsing in sync with her device. There was intelligence there, vast and alien, but not hostile. Look at the energy signatures, she called to Vixara. It's not random destruction. It's reconfiguring the ship's systems to match its original design principles. Vixara moved to a nearby console, their patterns steadying as they analyzed the data. Impossible. These configurations violate every law of quantum mechanics we know. Maybe your laws are too limited, Maya suggested. She could feel the consciousness responding to her adjustments, like a master musician following an apprentice's hesitant lead. The ancients understood something we don't, but the universe isn't just math and physics. It's also art and intuition. The ship groaned as more systems transformed. The rigid crystalline structures were becoming fluid, organic. Energy conduits twisted into new patterns that seemed to follow some natural law Maya had never learned but somehow understood instinctively. We need to make a decision, she announced, watching fracture lines spread across the ceiling. Either we fight this transformation and lose the ship, or we help guide it and see what the ancients were trying to create. Vixara's patterns shifted to a deep violet of decision. The Coalition Council will never approve. This goes against everything we believe about technological development. Then maybe it's time for those beliefs to evolve, Maya countered. She held up her resonator, showing how its simple harmonics were already synchronizing with the ancient patterns. Sometimes the most advanced solution is the simplest one. Making her choice, Maya began to actively work with the consciousness, using her resonator to help guide its energy flows. The golden light responded, its patterns becoming more focused, more deliberate. Help me, she called to the engineers. Stop trying to control it and start trying to understand it. Feel the rhythms, find the harmonies. One by one, the alien engineers set aside their quantum computers and precision tools. Following Maya's lead, they began to work by intuition, adjusting systems based on feel rather than calculation. The transformation accelerated. The ship's hull rippled like liquid metal, reforming into curves and spirals that shouldn't have been possible. The engine core itself began to pulse with golden light, the ancient consciousness weaving new patterns of reality around them. Maya felt something brush against her mind, a vast, ancient intelligence reaching out with what could only be described as approval. Images flooded her consciousness. Civilizations rising and falling, technologies beyond imagination, and a warning about the dangers of perfect order. They didn't disappear, she gasped, understanding at last. They evolved, transcended, and they left this behind as a gift, a bridge between order and chaos. The ship shuddered one final time, and for a moment, Maya thought they had failed. But then the golden light stabilized, settling into a steady, harmonious pulse. The transformation was complete. The Stellaris had become something new, neither purely coalition technology nor purely ancient, but a perfect synthesis of both. A bridge between worlds, between ways of thinking, between order and chaos. But as Maya looked at the transformed ship through new eyes, she realized their journey wasn't over. The ancient consciousness had awakened for a reason, and that reason was about to change everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe. The transformed Stellaris hung in space like a work of art, its hull flowing with patterns of golden light that defied conventional physics. Inside the engine core, Maya stood before the ancient consciousness, her simple resonator still humming in harmony with energies that had slept for millions of years. "It's beautiful," Vixara said, their patterns shifting through shades of wonder. The other engineers nodded in agreement, their fear replaced by fascination as they studied the impossible geometries around them. Maya felt the ancient consciousness brush her mind again, sharing understanding that went beyond words. "They weren't trying to give us advanced technology," she explained, translating the impressions into words. "They were trying to teach us a new way of thinking, or maybe an old way we'd forgotten." The ship's systems had stabilized into a new configuration that merged coalition precision with ancient wisdom. Quantum matrices still functioned, but now they flowed like rivers rather than marching in straight lines. Energy coursed through organic circuits that adapted and evolved in real time. "Look at these readings," one of the junior engineers called out, their patterns pulsing with excitement. "The ship's efficiency has increased by orders of magnitude, but nothing about it follows our established principles." "Because it's not just following rules," Maya said, running her hand along a console that felt warm and almost alive beneath her touch. "It's learning, adapting, growing, like a living thing." Vixara moved closer to the ancient device, which now formed the heart of a system that was neither purely mechanical nor purely organic. The Coalition has spent millennia pursuing technological perfection. We thought the path to advancement lay in eliminating chaos, in reducing everything to mathematical certainty. And we humans spend most of our time just trying to keep broken things working. Maya added with a slight smile. Maybe the truth lies somewhere in between. The ancients understood that the universe needs both order and chaos, precision and intuition, science and art. The consciousness pulsed in agreement, sharing another vision. Countless civilizations across space and time, each discovering this truth in their own way. Some, like the Coalition, pursued perfect order until they either transcended their limitations or destroyed themselves trying. Others embraced chaos until it consumed them. But the ones that thrived were those that found balance. "This isn't just about fixing a ship, is it?" Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. This was a test. The ancients left their technology as a bridge, waiting for species that were ready to understand it. And it took both of us to cross that bridge, Vixara realized. Our technology and your intuition, the Coalition's precision and humanity's adaptability. The ship hummed around them, its new systems settling into harmonies that felt right in a way that defied explanation. Maya's resonator had become part of those harmonies, its simple technology finding its place among the most advanced systems ever created. "So what happens now?" one of the engineers asked, their patterns showing uncertainty. Maya felt the ancient consciousness stir with purpose. More images filled her mind, a galaxy full of sleeping seeds like this one, waiting to be understood. Civilizations reaching for the stars, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, and a choice to remain separate, bound by their limitations, or to learn from each other and grow into something greater. "Now," Maya said, her voice firm with conviction, "we have work to do." The ancients didn't just leave us technology, they left us a mission. To find the others, to help them understand what we've learned here. to show them that true advancement comes not from pursuing perfection, but from finding harmony between different ways of thinking. Vic's aura's patterns shifted to a color Maya had never seen before, a shade that seemed to represent hope and determination combined. The Coalition Council will need to be convinced. This goes against everything we've believed for thousands of years. Maya patted her trusty toolkit with a smile. Then it's a good thing you've got a human mechanic on your side. Sometimes the most complex problems need a simple perspective. The transformed Stellaris pulsed with golden light, its systems singing with possibilities that neither humans nor the Coalition had imagined possible. It was more than just a ship now. It was a testament to what could be achieved when different species, different philosophies, and different approaches came together in harmony. As Maya looked out at the stars through the ship's transformed hull, she couldn't help but smile. She'd come here to fix a mechanical problem and ended up helping to bridge the gap between civilizations. Not bad for a backwater repair mechanic from Outpost 7. The ancient consciousness hummed with approval, and Maya knew that this was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, other seeds were waiting to be found, other bridges waiting to be built, and maybe, just maybe, the universe needed a few more simple solutions to its greatest mysteries.